Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Rib. And boy, we got a ton of stuff to talk about. I got to start by thanking the people who provide us with our information. Those people basically give us all the things that we can speak about facts and deal with stuff that's going on in the city and how we're getting destroyed financially, and give you actual examples.
Well,
So
I've got to say something.
Go ahead.
As you know, I attended a school committee subcommittee meeting on Monday, right after our show. After an hour sitting there waiting to speak, I logged off because the first words out of my mouth would have been an F-bomb. Okay? That superintendent does nothing. And Bailey and Corey were sitting there going, "Oh, but things are wonderful. Aren't we just fabulous? Everything is great." And a parent's letter was written, Taylor, which I've got to give her a lot of credit because she's out there standing up for parents and students. And Corey had a downer. I don't know what the parents expect from us. They expect the truth. And Colin was trying to get that message across. And everything that superintendent said was a contradiction. And then she finally turned around and said, "I'm withdrawing my statement. I'm withdrawing my question. I don't even want to bother."
Well, I always commend you, CJ, on your ability to watch that for more than 30 seconds without smashing yourself in the forehead with it.
I got to give Colin credit because I'll tell you right now, dealing with those idiots.
Oh, I did speak to Colin and say exactly the same thing. He has far more patience than I have ever had.
No question about it.
I have virtually none. But
no question
I'm
about
glad
it.
you mentioned the school committee because we're going to segue into what is the theme of today's show? How Paul Coogan has just completely wasted as much money as he possibly humanly could. Since he's taken office, the budget has doubled. We've confirmed that number wise. Last show we talked a little bit about the letter that some people that were on his transition committee spoke about maintaining cost in trash pickup. And again, he ignored that like he ignored my letter that said we would be in the problem we're in with the healthcare, like he ignored the problem with Durfee that we wrote him a letter about. But now let's get in. We've got more on the school department. This is going to knock your socks off. I hope we've got some potential candidates for various political offices watching tonight. And I hope Colin is watching. He normally does. I've discussed some of this with him. He is aware of it. And I think that we should all make everybody aware of it and we're going to send a packet maybe to the school committee at some point in time after I get done with my complaints to everybody in the world. But let's start with a little history, a little reminder. Okay, what are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about how much money Paulie, and it segues into, remember the guy that just resigned that was getting $91,500 in a new contract that used to work for ENE?
Yep.
And who gave him the job? Who gave him the job?
Anyway,
2012 got suspended. He should be. Where's the feds? We're going to need the feds on this. I really don't. Okay. Here's a picture of one of the ducks. Nice and clean, huh? Really good. Here's another picture of the ducks.
And we don't mean quack quack.
Yeah, not the duck. Yeah, this the other one. That's a better. You got the full screen. Now you can see the real garbage in there. Look at that stuff. All right. I think there's a couple of leprechauns living in there. I don't know. But now, let's get to the company that the guy Kenny gave a job to And we might have another circumstance of, remember Jay's old assistant that had to kick back to him?
Yep.
I wonder how much money is being changed hands between these people. I'm not alleging anything. I'm asking a question. So let's look at these numbers. And I've taken the time to make these a little easier to see because we get them in
microfiche format.
in a different form. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to start you off with one of the first ones. We're going to put this on our webpage sometime. Okay. This is what I'm going to show you. You can't really see it, but I have taken. So since I can read it from my phone while I hold it up into the screen, can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this is what this says. Okay. This is the approval of contracts for discussion and approval. Okay. Now this is, what is it? E&E Systems. And what does this say? It says cost. Okay. It is, their job is to maintain and the HVAC system. Now, let's look at these numbers. I've highlighted a few of them to knock your socks off. Cost for remaining 7 months for, listen to this now, it's there, you can read it, HVAC support and maintenance services. Now, you just saw the pictures of how well they maintain this. And ironically enough, this company came on board, and we had to start these massive bills right after Coogan got in, and Kenny was there. Okay, so let's look at these costs. The cost for fiscal year 2023, 70. I gotta expand this. Sorry. Got to expand this a little bit so I can read it. Get it up there where you guys can read it. Hopefully. But you can trust my numbers. 23. 798,401. Fiscal 24. 862,260. Fiscal year 25, 931,260. Next fiscal year, 1,005,000. 26, that's next year, $1,086,240. Okay, look at those numbers. We've paid these people nearly $3 million for this. Tommy Corey, you scumbag. Everything's wonderful. Bobby Bailey, accountability. Fiduciary, watching the people's money. This is what we paid for? Where's the investigation? The city council should demand an investigation. I want to know, see their maintenance records of when these ducts were cleaned, and did it coincide when we found all the mold? And here's another one for your personal edification. This is a new one. Okay. I'll read it off the page because it's only one. This is just for the Sylvia School HVAC work. What work they do, I don't know. Looking at this stuff. $29,442. we still got mold in the ducts. This is an outrage. This is an outrage. They're going to get $1 million next year. And the year after, $1.8 million. How much is Kenny getting out of that? He really likes these guys because when they retire from there, he gives them $90,000 a year jobs at 60-something as a little bonus for the great work they do. You don't think an investigation, a complete investigation? I think the damn FBI should be down here. This is outrageous. And that school committee, like they did everything else, all they do, except for Colin and Kevin Aguirre, is sing, "Kumbaya, everything's wonderful." Shut up, you people are crazy. The borders are closed. The ducks are clean. There's no criminals in this country. There's no crime.
There's no rape. There's no rapes. There's no sexual harassment. No sexual molestation.
Yeah, I don't know about jurisdiction, Annalise. They are a bunch of crooks. I'm telling you, we got to pay extra for our health care, even though we paid it. We've got to pay extra for Diamond and Durfee, even though we
didn't get a vote on the Diamond. We didn't get a vote on the Diamond. The idiots voted yes on Durfee.
I can hire a duck company for 1/10 that price.
Stanley Steamer makes your life.
That's right.
Cleaner.
You can bring Stanley Steamer in Durfee and pay him $10,000, and he'll do a better job than these schmucks. $1 million? $1 million in 25 and 26. Nearly $1 million a year before, 800,000 a year before that, nearly 800,000 a year before that. Crook. A man who lied to the council and they let him keep his job, transferred him over, let him not put things out for bid again. He should be investigated. Paul Coogan should be investigated. The city council is derelict in their duties. Absolutely derelict in their duties. I got CJ, go ahead. I'm going to count the pages that we've got on them already.
Oh, no, I don't even want to interrupt on this. But I'll tell you now, Paul thinks he's doing a wonderful job. Remember, that's why he's going to appoint 2 people to the school committee, because he can't lose his power. Can't lose his power. Why not? Why? Because he's got kiss asses there now. Mimi Larrabee, Tom Corey, Bailey, Shelley Pereira. 4 out of the 6 kissing his ass. They're not representing the parents. They're not representing the students. They're not even representing the teachers. They're representing Paul. And what are they getting back from it? What are they getting back from it? I want to know.
They're representing Kenny, too. Kenny's beautiful, remember?
That's right.
Didn't Tommy the singer? I think he sang it. Look, I will admit I can't sing. Not one of my fortes.
Please don't.
He can sing better than me. Anybody can sing better than me. But a school committee they look at this stuff. These, as I showed you, these are for action discussion on contracts. These numbers are projected contracts. We haven't, what has the general public heard? And by the way, you talked about there's no sexual harassment. I'm having a meeting this weekend with somebody who reached out to me. And as always, we keep our sources confidential, whose daughter was sexually harassed.
There you go. No sexual harassment.
And I guess he wants to know what he can do. Well, I'm going to take a look at it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell him. Go get a lawyer.
Yeah.
Sue all their asses. Sue them all. Because, look, it's bad enough when they do nothing. But when they do absolutely nothing and try to convince you that they're doing a great job and everything is fine, the city's freaking broke. We wouldn't need to worry about Diamond if we weren't paying these guys $1 million a year. How about putting that on a debt? This is nuts. I can't take this anymore. Yeah. Yeah. And we still haven't gotten an answer on why somebody got a police escort to a funeral and they weren't a public dignitary. We've asked, but we can't get an answer. Listen, I mean, these numbers are staggering, and the numbers are, and to go back to the other report we have on that thing that was given to him 6 years ago. There it is. This is the report from 6 years ago on his transition team that he ignored for 6 years. They told him about the trash. We went on last show. They gave him all kinds of, and said, you know, this is going to be a major problem if you don't address it. And what did Paul do? Paul does what he does best. He is a pathological prevaricator, but he is also a professional procrastinator. We're on the P's today. We're going to do some P's, a little bit of alliteration with P's. So, Paul has done nothing for 6 years except spend money. He's doubled the budget. Doubled the budget. Doubled people's salaries. Doubled everything except even our tax rate. He has doubled something, but not in a positive for the people of Fall River. He's managed to double our tax rate. Listen, I don't care if Bozo the Clown runs for mayor.
He's got my vote.
Vote for Bozo the Clown.
He's got my vote.
Get your friends to go to the polls. We can't have this. I mean, he's gonna be gone. He'll be back in Somerset as soon as he's no longer carpet bagging in the city. He'll take his truckload full of money and he'll disappear off into the sunset and laugh all the way to the bank saying, I never liked Fall River anyway. As soon as I retired from the school department, I moved to Somerset. And the only reason I came back was to get into politics and enrich myself. This is, you know, the people have to, I don't know. You know, we had a recall. We need a recall at a regular election. We need a house clean. We need 1995 again. They're making 1995 look like it was a cakewalk, that they were saving money. These people are nuts. Vote for boy. Yeah, I am, Annalise. I am. Anybody. We can't sustain this. You know, I was looking over some old notes and all the things that Paul promised and has done, I mean, nothing. He was warned about the trash. What are the biggest ticket items now that are costing the city, put us into bankruptcy?
Trash, trash, trash.
Trash. He was warned about that before he took office. Retirement systems costing him money. I warned him about it before he got into office. Collective bargaining agreements. I warned him about that in that letter. And the health care. They ran out of money even though they had the money, they spent it. So there's 6 years of doing nothing. Asked all the wrong questions last time. You've seen it a lot. Do you ever see it with somebody who was terminated from an official position in the city of Fall River, Fred? I have nothing against the individual, but the questions I'm getting from the general public that call me are, how can somebody who was allegedly but never prosecuted, because again, Fall River PD did investigate it. They said they were going to investigate it, but nothing ever goes anywhere. He was accused of doing some serious offenses. I don't know, and I mean, I don't know. Are they saying that that doesn't matter? That doesn't matter. I don't know. That's the questions I'm getting. I don't have an answer. I don't claim to have an answer. I didn't realize that you could get a police escort at your request. The only police escorts I've ever seen are for people who were considered, dignitaries, high-ranking city officials, or fire or police who have died on line of duty. And unfortunately, I marched behind 5 members of my department and 3 or 4 members. I'm not sure if it was. The last 3 died in the line of duty. I'm not sure. I don't think I was on the job yet when the first police officer that died, Ruggiero, was killed. But I did go to all the others, and as well as them all over the country. I was not aware of that you could request it. But I guess that would be at the discretion of the manning of the police department, because it does take up manning. But the question I'm getting, in the context I'm getting it in, is someone who was accused of basically misuse of government, of city property, doing things, that weren't legal.
I received a request on who paid for it.
And just look, we have to put this in. We're going to call, the Malone file now.
Right.
It's going to go in there with, we never get an answer to anything. We can ask the question on why this happened in this particular instance, which is, to me, not that big a deal, but some people obviously think it's a big deal and they wanted an answer. We asked the question. But we won't get an answer to this. We didn't get an answer. And let's go. We talked about Paul was warned about the trash. He didn't do anything about it by his transition team. He was warned about the other aspects, the health care, the retirement system, and the collective bargaining. And you know what else he was warned about? By you and me? Durfee. Before he became mayor.
Yep.
And he hasn't done a thing in 6 years except sit on his hands and double our budget. And now we've got a city councilor begging, demanding the law be violated so the state can subsidize us repairing our buildings and buying fire apparatus. Well, CJ, I know you remember. No, that makes sense, Fred. That makes sense. He was a caretaker for Fall River PD, just like a fire department chapel. Yeah, well, anybody that's a veteran can have an honor guard on request, Linda.
But he was also a retired former police officer.
Yeah, and the thing is that when I had 2 of my members die last year, one was 99 years old, and he fought in World War II, landed in Normandy. The other was a World War II vet. He was 97, nearly 98. Both of them, I went to both the funerals, and they both had military honor guards because they were some of the few last remaining. See, those are, to me, special circumstance kind of things. These people did something for, they did something that, fire department chaplains, police department chaplains, things like that. People who serve their community. But I mean, that's not, to me, as important as, what is going on with this guy not doing anything and never giving us any information about anything. I mean, he was warned about everything and he does absolutely nothing. He's done nothing.
Nada.
We warned him about Durfee, and they talked about the streets. And but get back to the councilor. He wants the state to pay for the fire stations. I want an explanation of how these stations got that bad. I want to know why we're paying this company literally millions of dollars to clean our ducts. They don't get cleaned. We're paying a maintenance department in the school department and DCM is by city ordinance commissioned to maintain our buildings, yet every building in Fall River's fallen apart. I was stationed at Stanley Street. We had bats because that's an old station. There's still
Over 100 years old.
There's still a loft up there that they used to keep the hay in to feed the horses when we had horse-drawn apparatus. It was an old building, but it was maintained to a degree. It's an old building, but you have to keep up with it. As a matter of fact, when I was up there as a captain, the men renovated the kitchen on their own. We had a couple of guys that were carpenters, and they said, you know, the kitchen's kind of getting shabby, and they renovated it. They did it at other stations. I know they did it at the Globe station too. I don't know what's happened, but these have fallen into serious disrepair. And while I say, well, Cliffy might have had good intentions, I will remind Cliff that what he should be doing is getting to the bottom of why these things happen and why these things were not done. Why these buildings got
and not try to violate the Massachusetts Constitution. The millionaire tax was created to fund transportation and education, not buildings.
Yeah.
And you publish a resolution that hasn't even been provided to the city council yet.
Yeah. Let me ask a simple question of you, CJ. If you let your house fall apart, are they going to fix it for you? Can you write that and say, hey, fix my house. My roof was leaking for 17 years and I never fixed it. Now my whole house is underwater. Well, and everybody else in the world except the government has to pay for their mistakes. You don't maintain your shit, it goes to shit. It's that simple. City makes the building fall apart, we get a $500,000 tab. That's it. The city doesn't pay its spends all its healthcare money. We get to give them more money to pay the healthcare because they're out of money, even though they should have had the money. They paid this company millions of dollars to clean the ducts. Here's the ducts. We don't get anything for our money, but what we got to do is pay more. We got to pay more than once. Fred, I know you had a business, very, very good business, and it was run very, very well. If you didn't take care of your stuff, you'd be bankrupt. This is what aggravates me about the government. These people, and then they go begging for more taxpayer money. Cliff, demand an investigation. Go back and see all the work orders. Did the house captain put in? Did they tell the city that this station was in disrepair? Why did it take a union executive, not the chief of the fire department, to go up there and tell them that this place is a mess? And then the chief
create a policy not to release that information.
That's right. So, there you go, which is number one, illegal. You can't tell them they can't report a health hazard. And those buildings are health hazards. But Coogan's idea, talk about a dictator. You Democrats, don't complain about Donald Trump. Paul Coogan makes Donald Trump look like Mother Teresa. Okay? Paul Coogan says, shut up, nobody gets to talk. No, it's, you know, and the thing is that puts a lid on, you can't talk. Colin, you asked a question about the money, shut up. You not only are not getting an answer, we're not going to show you the numbers, even though
and we're going to make you jump through hoops to get the records.
That's right. And I mean, this guy's been doing it for 6 years, and the longer he stays in office, the worse it gets. Now he's telling them you cannot release information to the public. Paul, the public owns this city. You swore an oath to be our agent and substitute. You work for us. You're supposed to, and it says in part of the 5, You are answerable to us at all times. You violated your constitutional oath when you sent down that directive. But then again, nobody cares. Like you just said, Cliff sends a letter to Boston that violates the Constitution. But who cares? Hey, let's look for another handout. Fall River wants to stay a welfare city. We need the handouts from the state.
But we've got market rate housing.
Yeah, more market rate.
Market rate housing. The city couldn't even afford market rate rents.
Well, and at least you can complain, but they don't listen.
That's true.
You have the right as a citizen now. We can complain on this show, but you can't. Can you imagine a city? This is like the Twilight Zone. I feel like Rod Serling sometimes. The sights and sounds. It's like welcome to the Twilight Zone. Can you imagine a city where elected city officials who are there supposedly to represent us are told that they can't see numbers? They can't access information they need to effectively do their job. And
I don't have it right now. I'll get it to you.
This guy is not a dictator. I mean, this guy makes he makes Putin, Kim Jong-un over there in North Korea and everybody else look like Athens. Yeah, I know that, but Tennessee's kind of a red state. That's why it worked.
That's right.
Over here, if you revolt, they throw you in jail. Because if you're trying to do the right thing, they throw you in jail. If you're doing the wrong thing, they give you free medical care, free housing,
and a $90,000 a year job,
a driver's license, and they'll hide you from ICE. So this is the problem. You live in a state that's basically, a giant anal sphincter. So that's what it is. Oh yeah. Well, Healy was rambling on television yesterday and the day before because CJ and I we're news addicts, so we're always watching local, state, national, everything news. She was ranting about housing, the problem. Housing Massachusetts is unaffordable, so let's do something about it. Yeah, let's do like you did before. Give help to people who are building market rate housing agent. And I know, CJ, you want to tell them about the call when you called?
I read them the Riot Act. Okay? I said, you're complaining about housing. You're trying your best with the HDIP program, which requires a TIF, which means I pay the taxes on it. Okay? And all they're using it for is market rate housing. People can't afford market rate housing. You're making people homeless. You're putting them on the street. And that's what she's doing. She's putting them on the street. When I ended that conversation, I'm like, thank you. And I lost it.
Yeah, they're going to take your comments under advisement, which means
take my comments under advisement.
That's what they're going to. They're going to probably put you on the no-fly list in Massachusetts after that call. You won't be able to. You'll go, oh, you're the guy that called Healy, huh? But this is what we got. This is what we got in these states. They talk about it all the time, but they don't know the definition of affordable housing. They're not doing a damn thing about anything. And we got to admit it. I've never seen anybody in 6 years do absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it flies in the face of everything that he promised. I'll give everybody a reminder. Here's our reminder because unfortunately, if I get out, there it is. Yep, and he says because the transition committee, following 8 subcommittees, will focus on specific goals and objectives that will assist formulating plans to ensure a safe, clean, and financially sound city. They can't pay any of their bills. But financially, and there will be further opportunities. for others to offer assistance and expertise. Yeah, if you offer expertise, they throw you out. And this is his opening to his transition team, his letter to the transition team. Integrity in a well-run, well-organized city government are the Coogan administration's highest priorities. This is the foundation on which we can continue to build a clean. This city's a dump. You know, you drive down some of these streets, it's criminal. Safe. Yeah, we're in the top 10 all the time in crime. And financially sound. We can't pay for health care. We can't pay for the retirement. We can't pay for trash. Financially sound. 6 years. Remember, this was over 6 years ago. This was written before he held up his hand for the first time and made promises he wouldn't keep. He was telling you this was his blueprint. His draft.
This is how he took his oath of office.
He wants to build a clean, safe, and financially sound city. On that period. Next sentence. Transparency. Transparency. You can't see the numbers. We got no sexual harassment. Shut up. You don't get to know anything. I'm the mayor. I get to know it, and nobody else. And remember, even my lawyers can't tell you that because they say that they work for me, not for you, which is a lie. Accountability. There's none. Accountability and ethical standards will be the foundation of this administration. I'm not going to read the rest of this nauseating thing because I'm probably going to throw up. And I actually haven't had my dinner yet. So I want to be able to hold my dinner down. I mean, this is it, guys. 6 years of this guy. Nothing. The only thing he succeeded in doing is doubling your taxes, doubling the budget, and giving everybody he knows a job and making all his rich friends richer. When he got in, he said, I'm going to look to my developer friends, my lawyer friends, my banker friends, and all my rich friends. I'm not going to look for the guy that runs the hot dog stand. I'm not going to look for the guy that wants to open up a business but can't because everybody's broke. And we're going to build more market rate housing. Everybody around us, Johnston, Rhode Island, 18,000 people is building affordable housing. Fall River, they're going to build more than Fall River did. Over 90,000 people in a community of, well, Somerset built more too, and they got 18,000, I think, in Somerset too. But I mean, listen, I don't know what you got to do. I mean, I am as frustrated as I've ever been. Now, I don't know if I can stand seeing this go on another term. We've got to get these people out. We have to. We've got to get these other people who are just so lazy they won't get. Oh yeah, they'd never do that. Look what they did to Trump. They tried to shoot him twice. He wants to eliminate government waste, and he's finding out even his own party will make that difficult. These swamp creatures that stay in politics their whole life, they'll only cut and pretend they cut. And
look at that wench from Alaska, Murkowski. Okay? She was a no vote on the mega bill. No. Then all of a sudden, we'll give you all this money. Oh, I'm a yes vote. And then her response to the press, I have a responsibility to the people of Alaska. That was her response. That's it. The bill was no good until they did a carve out for you. And according to what mainstream media is saying, many Republicans got carve outs to get a yes vote. So again, pork barrel legislation.
Isn't Alaska the place they built the bridge to nowhere?
That's right.
Alaska built, well, this is the way they do it. Yeah, USAID is closed. That's only a drop in a bucket. It's those politicians, like CJ said, that are the problem. This is what they do. See, if you did that, Annalise, if I did that or CJ did that, that's exactly what we would be arrested for soliciting a bribe.
That's right.
What they do is when they get a bill that the president really wants, and all presidents, not just Trump, they go up and say, well, this is going to be real close. You want my vote. You better give me a lot of money so I can make all my friends rich in my state. Let's build a bridge that goes nowhere. Give me money, and that's what they have to do. And that's what Trump tried not to do, but he's forced to do it to get at least something. You could never do what they do in private industry. If you own a company in private industry and people are not doing what they're supposed to do, you fire them.
That's right.
Gone. They're out of here. And then you get employees who work. And when these employees work and the company flourishes, you give them pay raises. You give them a great place to work because they've earned it. In government, it operates, they're the antithesis of that. They do just the opposite. The more corrupt, the more money they spend, the better off they are and all their friends because they get money for doing nothing. Like this company. I still want to know how you can charge me $1 million and I'm a taxpayer. And granted, I don't have any kids in school anymore. They're out of school, thankfully, and out of college. This is what we get. This is what we get. And it says at the top of this contract, they're here for HVAC maintenance. It's HVAC support and maintenance services. What kind of maintenance service are they providing? And this is only one part of it. The trash pickup, everything. You name it, Paul Coogan's ignored it for 6 years. It doesn't do any good to tell him. Because he talked about, well, after the transition is over, knowledgeable people in the community can come forward and give me some advice, which you're going to ignore. Because we know that's not true, Paul. Because even my enemies acknowledge that I know more about healthcare than anybody in your administration. But you didn't give a damn about the letter I wrote you. We've got a man that doesn't care. He's just taking up space and making as much money as he can for himself and all his friends, and he ignores everything. He is just a flat-out liar.
And remember,
at least some mayors did something. You know,
I remember, Linda says all the time in the city council, nobody knows anything more about health care than Chip Kamara. Chip Kamara knows. Does these Chip Kamara's numbers?
Yeah, even Mary Sahadi gave me credit not about the retirement system, because when they made a question about that, she said, "Oh, don't worry about the retirees. They keep a very close eye on this, just like they do on a health care." And it's like, but he doesn't want. They ignore the advice because you know why? Their friends aren't making money. If they follow the advice and we were running this city efficiently, you wouldn't be having somebody coming down to get a permanent position as CFO who could barely explain herself in front of the council. And I want to see how many of these yo-yos vote for her. I mean, if I ever saw somebody that was in over her head, it was this interim CFO. So let's see what the bobbleheads do, because I think that's coming down at the next meeting, making her permanent CFO.
That would be on the 15th.
We will see, and you can't make this stuff up. You just can't make it up. And like I said, it's the irony is that he actually articulated that before he took office. And then he did the exact opposite of everything he said, that because those were nice words. And a wise man, you remember the humble bum from New Bedford, right?
Yeah.
A very, very powerful political figure over there. He had a lot of weight. He was very friendly with Fred Kalis. And he used to say something that I always remembered. It was very good, and I don't know who that quote is attributed to. I'll have to look it up someday, but I really don't use it that often. But now I may have to look it up. Words without deeds are worthless weeds. And I'm going to tell you something. Paul Colt Coogan's words are without deeds, and he doesn't have weeds. We got elephant grass that's grown in Fall River in the last 6 years because he's done absolutely zero. Absolutely zero. And the only way we can fix it, everybody, is get all your friends out. Tell them to call 5 people. Tell them, we're going to go over all the candidates before this election. And I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to probably publicly endorse some of these people who promise to do the right thing based on their promise, with the proviso that they don't do it. We're going to do everything we can to get them out after one term. This is what we got to do in Fall River. We've got to set a new standard in Fall River that if you don't do the job of the people, you're not going to be in a council. From the time you first learned, you got your driver's license till the time you're eligible for Social Security, and that's what happens in Fall River. So let's see what happens. You're reading something, CJ, I can tell.
Yeah, I was looking up your words without deeds quote. Can't find it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either. I don't know if that's just a general statement that he can't attribute to a specific.
Well, a lot of it's being attributed to James, the book of James, but I don't think that's correct.
No, that's just like that quote, like Paul Coogan is. The leader who will burn his nation down just to rule over its ashes.
Yep.
Mad with power. They say that was Sun Tzu, but a lot of people, I've read virtually everything Sun Tzu's written, including The Art of War. It's not in there. But they said that it was, but a lot of people say it is attributed to them, but a lot of people say it wasn't. And there were a lot of quotes like that we say. That we know the ones from Lincoln. We know the ones from that we know of. And, and one of my favorite Lincoln quotes is, you can show a man's character. A man shows his character and his integrity about what he does when people aren't looking. And
yep.
Boy, I'm going to tell you, Paul doesn't want anybody looking at him. That's why he hides everything, because he has neither.
Well, hitting him over the head with a baseball bat works, but that's felonious assault.
No, yeah, Annalise.
That's felonious assault.
It's a losing. They never listen.
That's right.
They will pretend to listen and do what they do. Paul pretended to listen. He got a transition committee, then ignored everything they said. He pretends that he's going to do something. He doesn't do. These politicians, the only way you get them to listen is what Teddy Roosevelt borrowed, a West Indian proverb: speak softly and carry a big stick.
Yeah.
You know what that big stick is? An election. When you show these people that you will not reelect them if they don't get their priorities straight, then they will listen, not because they want to, but because they have to. See, some people are ethical and will go down. They will fight for a cause. But these people are normally not politicians, because politicians have virtually, I think integrity is a disqualifying character trait from a politician. The people who stand up for what they did, Dr. Martin Luther King, he walked across the bridge. They got attacked, and he said something very, very, very profound. One of his quotes, and I'm paraphrasing now. He said that if you feel a law is wrong, you disobey it. But when you disobey a law, you have to expect to go to jail and suffer the consequences to prove that you really believe it, and that may have some effect. And he didn't do it, but they got attacked numerous times. But Nelson Mandela went to jail for decades on principle. See, those people are few and far in between. Teddy Roosevelt was a man of integrity. He was they attempted to assassinate Roosevelt, and he got up with a bullet in him and finished his speech. Those people in politics are as rare as the dodo bird, but those are the people who change society. The Martin Luther Kings, the Abraham Lincolns, the Teddy Roosevelts, the people who sent them, the Mother Teresa's, those people who were there with the regular people. But you're never going to find the bobbleheads. You're never going to find the little foam characters that sit in those seats and go like this. The Paul and Brad dolls that I'm going to patent these and sell them. Anybody want a Paul and Brad doll? Yes, okay. And you can squeeze their heads just in case. And look what they do for them. Yeah. Well, no. Martin Luther King did plenty, not in his lifetime. But sometimes you have to die for a cause to get it. And some people have given their lives, just like our freedom. Right. Just like our freedom. That's one of the problems with changing the world and changing society. It's not something that it happens overnight. Most people, especially weak people, are very resistant to change. People like Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, those people wanted to change society. Still not changed as well as it could be. But people like that serve as a beacon to other people, and ultimately, hopefully, we have a better world. We had Mother Teresa didn't change all of India, but she highlighted what was going on, and she did change a lot of people's lives, and so did all of these people, Teddy Roosevelt, RFK, JFK. But that's what they do to these people. These people who are really radical people who change, they kill them. They did that to Malcolm X, who was one of the most racist individuals on the planet, a member of the Black Panthers, the Black Muslims, and gave one of the greatest speeches I ever heard. Go on YouTube and look up Ballots or Bullets. It's a 54-minute speech about telling how they got sold down a river. But then he went to Mecca as a Muslim. And when he came back from Mecca, he changed his tune. He said, I saw blonde-haired, blue-eyed Muslims that worship the same God I do. And maybe it's not right to be a racist. A black racist who just didn't like white people because of the color of their skin. Yeah, the prophets in the Bible. But you know what they did? You know what the black Muslims did to Malcolm X after he gave that speech and said he had changed his tune? They assassinated him. They shot him dead.
It's always something.
So, this is the problem. But we have an easier way, hopefully. Get to the polls.
That's it.
Your friends. We're going to start having some meetings. So let's do it.
As we wrap up this show, for those of you who are interested, may not have heard, Jay Mello, former pastor at St. Michael's Church, has been relieved of all priestly duties. He's no longer referred to as father. He's now just Jay Mello. He's no longer a priest. He was not found guilty or probable cause in all the accusations, but in enough that he violated his ministerial duties. So that's something to look at. And remember, if you want to vote for Paul, more power to you. That's your right. But remember, a vote for Paul is a vote to make people homeless. And just to think about it, a woman died in the encampment the other day, and yesterday, another one received third-degree burns down by the MBTA station in an encampment. All made possible by Paul Coogan and his administration and his friends. So think about that before you cast that ballot. Think about that. I want to thank y'all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday, the 4th of July. Have a great weekend.